Cheers and good on you, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning into the show. Do me a favor, share the show, text it out to a friend, share it to your social media. I'm trying to hypnotize you. Ooh, ooh. Looks like I'm trying to feel someone up. Hey, your support means everything to me. Support, feeling up, brah, support. Okay, so I don't know where I'm going with this. Shorter show today, but I wanted to get one in. I want to keep this momentum going. So if you haven't already tuned out from the feeling up, I guess, like I said, subscribe, share, get it out there. Thank you. I appreciate your support. I love you guys. So shorter show. I definitely want to address this Minneapolis church things, and I'm going to get to that in just a couple minutes, so stay tuned. Not everything's goofy and ridiculousness, but a lot of it's going to be, because you know what, people, life is too short. Life is ending every single day. We're getting closer to death. That's not actually, believe it or not, that's not supposed to be a downer. That's supposed to be an upper. That's supposed to make you realize you better get it in now. Have some fun. Stop worrying about the things that don't matter, really, truly, on your deathbed. Someone cut you off in traffic. Are you going to be thinking about that on your deathbed? I can promise you and guarantee you, probably not. And if you were thinking about that on your deathbed, you didn't live a very good life. So live a good life, have some fun. And so one of the things I want to talk about is classical music. And I think I've talked about this before, but all the time when I'm at work on my desktop, I play on a loop classical music. I love Paganini, I think is how you say it, Vivaldi. I love the violin type classical music. I love that stuff. Oh my gosh. Very good for brain power, and it just relaxes you. Do things that relax you more. Obviously, but stay motivated. Like I think I said it in the last 1 or 2 episodes ago, how I've been meditating lately, and I love that. It's definitely put a perspective for me. I notice like things that kind of used to maybe upset me or trigger me a little bit. Trigger me sounds like a liberal. I don't mean it like that. I definitely don't mean it like that. White people trigger me. White people are evil. That's a liberal. That's an so but no, I mean, it puts things in perspective. It's kind of like the things that used to kind of upset me a little bit. Now I'm just kind of like, it's not that big a deal. So meditation has definitely helped me a lot. Obviously, diving into the Lord a little bit more and reading the Bible and just putting things into perspective. Like you hear about like people dying and the cancers, and we're all heading there. And I've always said this, I may have said this on the show, and if I haven't, it's certainly, or even if I have, it's worth repeating, that I always think of it kind of like the Titanic. Our lives are like the Titanic, the movie, but obviously in reality too, where Jack and Rose and if you look at it, the Titanic sinking, and the whole idea behind it was they get to the top and they climb over the ledge and they're holding onto the railing it's like you're just trying to stay on the Titanic as long as you can. You're trying to stay above that water as long as you can. And that's kind of what life is. Unfortunately, some people die when they're 3 years old. That's very unfortunate. That's the worst of the worst, when a child dies. And then some of us live to be 100 or 90 or 80 or whatever it might be, right? But we're all heading there. Whether you do die very young or you die old, the bottom line is this: you have an expiration date. So try not to get too worried about the things that just really, honestly, just don't matter, and put more of your focus on the things that do matter and building those things up. Gratitude, count your blessings, things like that. I should have looked at these notes before I even started the show. Failure is not your enemy. It's part of the process that leads to success. That's like a reframe. Think of it like that. A lot of people think failure is your enemy. Failure is bad. You failed. Oh, you suck. Think of it more like failure is just part of the process to success. And I love that. I love that thought process. It's a reframe. It really is. Mostly the most successful people that you can think of, they've failed a lot more than you, a lot more than the average person. I'm talking about like hugely successful people. They fail and they fail, they fail. Think of someone like an Elon Musk. He has failed so many times, but look at where he's at now. He learns from his failures. Look at failure like a learning process. You're learning something. It's very important to put it into perspective like that. The more times you fail, as long as you're committed to success, you're committed to that positive outcome, and you keep going and you learn from that failure, and then you change your approach and you do it again, and then you might fail again, but then you change your approach and you do it again. Change your approach, keep taking action, and eventually you will see the success that you're looking for. If you're committed to it, you don't just talk, you don't just complain, you learn from your failures. If you have that perspective, the reframe, if you have a perspective, I'm going to learn from my failures, I'm going to make adjustments, and I'm going to keep changing my approach until I create success in my life. Diets. I've tried this, it didn't work. Change your approach. It doesn't mean like, I'm just going to be unhealthy the rest of my life. I tried this one diet, it didn't work. What was your approach? What was your thought process? What were you believing? What were you putting in your mouth? Things like that. Were you moving? Were you exercising? Maybe you need to exercise a little bit harder. Maybe you need to change your exercise. Maybe instead of eating this, you need to be eating that. Things like that. Changing your approach. See, it's a very simple process if you just change the way you think, reframe things, and then of course apply a lot of action. That's the biggest thing. So again, like I said, a shorter show today, but I wanted to talk about this Minneapolis church protest against ICE. I have so many things to say about this. I'm going to try to contain them really quickly here. There was one person that was very vocal. I don't remember his name, but he was in the faces of even kids, yelling at kids about how they're racist and white supremacists and they're this and that, literally in a church service. And then later, this same guy talks about how he was invited to a mosque, like a Muslim church, and he was talking about how peaceful it was and how beautiful it was. These protesters would not go to a mosque and do the same thing. But for some reason, going to a Christian church, it's okay to attack Christians, it's okay to attack white people, but you can't. But a mosque, oh, it was so, they were praying, it was so beautiful. That's what he was saying, but he's in this church. These people in the church were praying. These people were worshiping the Lord. They get disrupted as if they had anything to do with what's going on with ICE. This is so disrespectful, out of the question. Like, it's just, I'm so glad that now they're getting arrested. And this whole Don Lemon piece of garbage, he's an idiot. I hope he gets arrested as well. These people are protesting. It's the same thing, like the people who are protesting something and they block streets and they block traffic, and you're not getting your message out there properly. I support protesting. You should be able to protest. It's part of our rights as an American citizen. Do it properly though. When you go into a church and then say we have the right to protest, you're on private property, you're protesting innocent people and their right to worship their God, to worship my God as well in a church. But again, a mosque, oh, that's perfect. Oh, they're so peaceful. You wouldn't do that in a mosque. I love the thought process. Christians are evil, but Muslims. Now again, I'm not even knocking, if that's your faith and that's your belief. I don't care what people believe. Believe whatever you believe. But how are you gonna, again, I guess because primarily white people are Christians, but I don't even know if that's true. I know so many black Christians. I know a lot of black Christians. Beautiful people, I love them. So I don't know what their thought process. I know, again, you talk about ICE and the protest. I know so many Hispanic Christians. And the ones that I know, a lot of them tend to be Catholic, but you can't even solidify it into that. But like, I don't get the thought process. Let's go to a church, let's disrupt a Christian service, call them a bunch of white supremacists. Again, it's the same thing. Like, if I was talking about it in the last episode, if you had even had questions about COVID, you were a white supremacist. So I don't know how they're connecting these dots. Christianity, white supremacy. What? Listen, liberals, you morons. To the ones that it applies. Not every liberal's a moron, but the hardcore ones, I'll put it that way. And listen, to be fair, there's some idiots on the right too. So I'm being fair here. But like, I just don't, if you want a little bit of make things make sense, connect some dots. When they're asking people on the Senate floor about, can a man give birth? This just happened recently, by the way. And they're asking doctors and people in the medical field, can men give birth? Well, I don't know what you mean by the question. It's a simple question. Can men give birth? Well, sometimes, no. Men cannot give birth, period. That's not white supremacy. That's not evil. That's not some kind of Nazi logic. What I'm worried about is the fascism that comes down to the people that have clearly been indoctrinated. They're compromised. Can a man give birth? And they're like, well, I don't know. You're a doctor and you can't answer a simple biological question. So these are the ones that I'm concerned about. These morons that call themselves doctors that are clearly, and you don't have to listen. I'm not a doctor. I know men can't give birth, so I'm technically a little bit more qualified than some of these doctors that have been severely compromised. Severely compromised. Can a man give birth? Come on. Where are we at? If you would have asked those same questions 10 years ago, people would look at you like you're an alien. But now, for some reason, it's some kind of like an if you say men can't give birth, you're part of the problem. I guess I'm part of the problem, people, because men cannot give birth. Period. There is no asterisk. There is no yeah, but there's a little bit of parentheses or something. No, men cannot give birth. Okay? Can't happen. So, liberals, not that they listen to the show, but if you were inclined to listen, I'll help you a little bit. Start making things make sense a little bit. Try that. Try that. Don't go to a church where people are worshiping God and call them a bunch of white supremacists. You're not going to get a lot of people on your side with that. Share the show, text it out to a friend, share it to your social media, and enjoy your life. See you next week.
Daddy, Daddy, you're so awesome. Daddy, Daddy, you're so cool. Yeah! I love you, Daddy.